What up, YouTubers? So I wanted to say something about Bitcoin, right? I was listening to it on the No Agenda the other day, and I don't like agreeing with these guys very much. I do on a lot of things, but so I went and looked it up, started looking it up and reading into it. I don't really know much about it, but this dude who is the CEO, see, I've always heard that Bitcoin is decentralized, which it is. It's not owned by a government, but it's owned by a private entity. It's a corporation now. It's a business. It's got a board. They make decisions. It's just like any other type of business. So for it to be like free of manipulation and stuff like that, it is far from that. Um, this is the CEO. He used to be. I don't know if he still is, but he used to be the CEO of Walmart, China, and Yahoo. He went to school in Stanford. I think they have a scrolling key over there or something. Who knows? But I'm not blinking anything yet. I'm just saying, well, we should be worried about it because now the Congress is kind of behind it. They're saying good things about it, so you know something's wrong with it. See, once it gets into the public domain and you can buy parts of it, then cities, counties, and states and governments try to buy shares, and the shares, once you get a certain amount, then you get controlling aspect, and then you get to control it, and this is no different than the stock or anything. Our Federal Reserve, it's like that too. It's all the same. It can be manipulated. It's privately owned, and so I kept doing some digging. Yells from Yahoo. There's the No Agenda site where I got started on this. Here's a few clips of whoever meeting, hearings about committees about the virtual currencies, where they're supporting it, and they now want legislation for it, and you know, it's all looking kind of not so good for the market, the free market, which, you know, that's what we strive for, is the free market. We want everything to be free. But we're gonna comment on a couple of this stuff he says here, because it's pretty interesting. I mean, if you're under the impression that this can't be manipulated, that it's a fair currency, I mean, it's great if you got in on the beginning of this, man. You're filthy rich. If you had like 50 bitcoins or 100 back when you could buy it for like $1 or something, you're sitting pretty right now, and it's probably gonna go way higher. But it's manipulative. I mean, watch. He, even during this, he says it a couple. He says that the board decided to do something so it would be better off for the company. Anytime you put profits in, everything else takes a back seat. You know, it's all about the money, and that's what this is. It's all about making cash. Whether it's centralized, decentralized, if it's privately owned, you're in trouble. That's what the Federal Reserve is. Let's see if we can get to listen to some of this by not making this video too long.
I'm Bobby Lee, CEO of BTC China, and we've been so the site's been running for 2.5 years. I joined early this year as a late co-founder. So over this, I mean, 2013 has been a breakout year for Bitcoin worldwide, and even more so in China. So we've seen the huge traffic growth, ever since the April surge.
So how much growth have you seen with Bitcoin in China? Is it like kind of a steady curve, or is it been kind of growing exponentially lately?
I don't know if it's exponential, but it's growing really fast.
But it's
so
huge.
Perspective.
For
Prior
sure,
to my
huh?
involvement with the co-founders, I contacted them in January, February, and got involved as a late co-founder. So we set up the company. It used to be a sort of a part-time hobby that my two co-founders ran the site for a little over
Set
2
up the
years.
company.
So,
So it's a company.
so
He said so. That's we set up the company.
my two co-founders ran the site for a little over 2 years. So, so at the time, we were seeing exchanges of, a late co-founder. So we set up the company. It used to be a sort of
So we
a
set up the
part-time hobby
company.
that my two
So it's a
co-founders ran the
company. It's
site for
privately
a
owned.
little over 2 years. So,
It's got a board.
so at the time, we were seeing exchanges of, around 1,000 or under 1,000 a day on a daily average. By March, we were seeing a few thousand bitcoins, and probably 5 to 7,000 bitcoins a day. And then the April surge in early April through April 11th, April 15th,
Here's your board.
peaked out at about 28,000 bitcoins a day. So, and obviously, the servers were under load, everything was slowed down to a crawl, and of course, the price collapsed. So May was an okay month, and then June, July was
That was a
lower,
bumpy
probably
month. I remember hearing people talking about that, and it kind of went down a little
bitcoins,
bit.
under 10,000, and then start picking up in August, and then by September we decided to essentially eliminate trading commissions. So that's a big step forward.
See, they just whenever you want to do something, whenever they want to do something, they're gonna do it, no matter what is said down below. I don't know what problems arose when they decided to do this because I don't know anything about the Bitcoin. I'm just looking at the structure of the way it's set up. If this is the Bitcoin stuff right here, I mean, I'm just doing a little searching on the search engines, and this is what I'm coming up with. So, but I've always heard a lot of talk about it on Free Talk Live, man. They're behind it big time. That's probably because they're sitting on a fucking boatload. They probably got a boatload of coins, man. So of course they're gonna be talking. It's decentralized. It's a great place to store your money. It probably is a great place to store your money, but you got to be careful because it's privately owned. The board moves it. If they decide to cut something that fucks you out of something, you're in trouble. I mean, we've already got things we can store money in. There's gold still. You can still store your money in gold. I mean, we've got a way to purchase things on the internet. It's called a credit card. You go to the store, you buy a card you can charge, you put money on it, you go to the home, you go run it through the computer, that takes it off. Problem solved. You don't got to go find a special bank, take out some kind of damn bank account so you can transfer and wait for things to get okayed, and then you got an exchange rate, and then you got a charge fee. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's a complete scam. I'm surprised it's gone up to $800 damn dollars. When I started watching this earlier, Gox was at US Gox was at like 710, and that was only like an hour ago. It's disgusting. It's because the government's behind it. They came out during this.
Plenty of sense.
This is no
Did you
agenda.
see,
This is no agenda talking about it.
No sooner had we ended our program on Sunday, as now remember I've predicted Bitcoin will be at 1,000 by the end of the year, and yeah, well, it went up. This is why it was a beautiful example of why this is because currency has to be stable. This is a very important part of the whole idea.
Yeah, I don't understand. It's kind of backed in China and everything, and
People in the
it's
plane
just
were
really
annoyed
weird.
with me.
I can't believe I let that happen. I'm such an idiot.
With Applebaum and
Rich billionaires, supposedly billionaires, sitting on a purchase.
All right, sorry about that. I had to take a quick pause to find my place again. Damn it. But we're gonna go ahead and continue here.
Yeah, well,
It's probably gonna lose
this is
again.
why it was a beautiful example. Now remember, I've predicted Bitcoin will be at 1,000 by the end of the year.
Okay,
yeah, well,
the reason I brought this up is because they get in. They have a clip here of what some kind of hearing. I think is the hearing I had back here of what was going on, and
this is why it was a beautiful example of why this is because currency has to be stable. This is a very important part of the whole idea.
Not just that, it can't be privately owned.
And it's not. It went up 200. It went down 200.
It's got to be owned by the people.
$200 up and down.
It's got to be owned by the people. The people need to have a central bank. The central bank needs to loan money add interest to the private sectors at 10%. You take that 10%, you use 2% to cover overhead, 2% to run federal, 2% to run state, 2% to run city, 2% to run county governments, thus removing all taxation on every level. You can stop collecting taxes, property taxes, you can stop collecting school taxes, you can stop collecting income taxes. All taxes would be removed because there would be no need to collect them anymore, because you're being paid by people who voluntarily voluntarily borrow money at 10%. You borrow $100, it's $10. You borrow $1,000, it's $100. So on and so forth. Simple system. Central banks separately owned. All 50 states have their own system, yet it's all the same currency, so it can be interchanged through the states, but it's all done by state run actors. That way, they keep them all selves in check, and the dollars stay relatively the same value, because they'll be looking over each other's shoulders to make sure that they're sticking to the thing, and if not, then they'll keep them in check that way. It'll be a self-governing type thing. But let's listen to what they had to say on what they know about, all these private exchanges. All this stuff's supposed to be private.
Does not a currency make it? 100, it went down 200. I mean, $200 up and down. This is does not a currency maketh. And part of it because of the hearings that were held 2 days in a row in Congress regarding virtual currencies, and to some degree specifically Bitcoin. And what is funny is, because of course I follow this, as we know, this is the beanie baby of this bubble, and currently it is back up at $753.18. The average here on bitcoinity.org. So a lot of people made a lot of money by doing this.
Fat money. Here it is over here on GOX. It's 8:13 right now.
Positive noise that you see
Friday, November
on
2nd at 9 o'clock.
It's based on what people were saying in these hearings. And I really didn't hear anything positive, which is really interesting, because everyone's like, yeah, it was great, they would support it. That's not what people were saying. I'd like to actually play something from some people who matter, who are out to screw you as an individual in general. I'd say Chuck Schumer fits right into that. This is the most corrupt person I have ever met in my life. He's on the banking committee.
You met him?
Yeah, I've met him. I've interviewed him, and he gave me the creeps. He was pushing Anthony Weiner. We've talked about this.
Oh, go figure.
This is our old thing, yeah.
He was Weiner. Weiner was his boy. And Schumer is always, he gets huge money from Wall Street. He's a Democrat, of course, makes total sense. And here's what he actually said about Bitcoin, which proves a couple of things. And by the way, the constant theme...
He probably owns thousands of Bitcoins.
Whenever they talk about virtual currency or Bitcoin in this context, in these hearings, yes, this is a currency that gives you near anonymity. No one said anonymous. It was always near anonymity. Because I know you're not anonymous.
You're not anonymous at all.
You can move some
your
stuff
IP,
around, but if you actually want to use that money for money,
your internet provider has your IP.
You're buying a cloud server or something. It's about all you can buy with it, or you're ripping somebody off, or or drugs, but they're very expensive drugs, by the way, because of the way your stuff sits in escrow. It's totally stupid as a
The
currency.
drugs are expensive for when the Silk Road was running?
Extremely expensive.
Well, that's funny, because that contradicts what, I mentioned a couple of shows ago, where they showed a screenshot and all those drugs were dirt cheap.
Bullshit.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, this all is part of a giant scam.
Because on the Silk Road, they never were cheap. Because people were selling a gram of coke for... like a 0. like a Bitcoin. And when we were talking about that stuff, when I was looking into it, it was like $200-300 then. Even if it was $100, that's too expensive. If you go down to the corner, yeah, no, it's very, very expensive. It's a total rip-off. I think it was really people who were buying from the Silk Road were people who are very afraid.
I think it was a money laundering.
Or novices, but not people who are
They were
actually
laundering
drug
money
users.
through there.
I don't think, like, oh, I'll try some of this. Who cares? This is the Bitcoin. I'll try some of this now. That was good. I'll try some more. Here's Schumer, and listen to what he says, because he's, first of all, he's taking credit for taking down the Silk Road. And he doesn't really he doesn't even really understand how it works. And he's talking to the guy at BitPay. They were very nice. The BitPay gave me an account, and so if I transfer Bitcoins into my BitPay account, although they don't tell me what the price is before I put it in, they will then say, "Oh, congratulations! We will be sending you this amount to your bank account in 2 days," which they have done when I've sent Bitcoins in. But you don't really get to negotiate on a price or anything. So, it says the price now on Mt. Gox may be $750. I might only get $500 for it if I sent it into BitPay. But so you would suspect that I wouldn't be money laundering. But how does he know? How does he know what I'm doing, where I get my money from? Well, he claims he does.
Anyway, I want to thank Chairman Merkley and Warner for letting us have this hearing and allowing me to participate. I've been very interested in this issue. I have a somewhat different approach than Senator Heitkamp. A while back, as you know, I called on federal authorities to shut down the website Silk Road, which they recently did.
By the way, I never remembered him calling for that.
I don't either.
I think he's full of crap.
Many
Of course
people
he's full of
interpreted my
crap.
action at the Times as directed at Bitcoin, because Bitcoin was the sole method of payment on Silk Road, and assumed that I also wanted to shut down or stamp out Bitcoin. That is not the case. I do not want to shut down or stamp out Bitcoin.
Hell
Now,
no.
this is
See,
like,
why
oh,
would he be
yes,
saying that
price goes up,
shit?
positive. Chuck Schumer likes us. Let me tell you, anytime
Yeah.
Chuck Schumer is on your side is when you got to watch your back, because there's a dagger coming.
Got
New
that
York
right.
sits in many ways at the nexus of all the issues being discussed today. As financial capital,
He's encouraging
the potential
it.
for creation of a new payment
It's
platform
weird.
and the rise of alternative currencies could have profound and exciting implications for the way
Exciting.
we conduct financial transactions. As a rapidly growing hub for technology and VC venture capital, New York has every interest in building on the promise that technologies like Bitcoin have to
Something
revolutionize payment
smells.
systems, or even form the building blocks for whole new technology platforms.
They're
so
all
right now,
for
you
it.
know that A, he didn't write this. B, he has no idea what Bitcoin is. He would know a Bitcoin from a bit tramp or a bit bucket. The guy knows nothing.
But all
No,
of that
but it's really suspicious that he's even
He
going
wouldn't
on
know
like this.
Bitcoin for
I
being
got
bit
a
in
little
the
more if you're
ass.
interested in hearing it.
promise is threatened
But
by the
that's kind of
association
basically
of
what I want
virtual
to
currencies with
show
criminal
on that.
activities.
There's something
unlike
sneaky's
real
going
money
on
with
there.
criminal activities.
Something sneaky. I mean, they're supporting it, and it's a danger to the Federal Reserve or the system in place right now. You don't want to throw the system out right now. You don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. The Federal Reserve works very well for the owners. You change the owners to the 50 separate individual states. Let that state control it, loan out private sectors, collect 10%. That'll run all your government needs, all of it, all the way across the board. I mean, it's ridiculous. You don't have to know. You don't. If you destroy the Federal Reserve, the faith. Oh, that was another thing I was going to show you in this interview. It's the same faith-based system. You have to give people to believe in order for it to work, and that's what he's doing with this company. That's what Bobby Lee's doing with this company. He's trying to get people to believe in it, because that's the same thing that holds our system in place, is faith. And when you disprove it, when you show people the truth about it, they lose faith in it. That's when you have a collapse. Collapse is not good. You don't want to see a collapse in the United States. You don't need to know. People don't understand how the banking system works. You don't want to throw it out, because they're idiots. They don't know what's going on. They don't need to know how it works. Just switch it over. You can do this legislatively. It doesn't need to be this huge revolution and millions of people dying when you can just legislate the owners away. It's Congress. We can tell them to do whatever the fuck we want them to. It's disgusting. But in this interview, I haven't gotten very far, but he talks about trying to get faith to people to believe it.
Basically encourage the market in China to embrace and adopt Bitcoin. So certainly the trading happened, and also the Silk Road event happened in early October, so it coincided with that. And through the month of October, ever since we announced trading fee elimination, essentially we've seen
Announced trading
to 10,000, 20,000. We broke the record multiple times during the week in early October. 28,000.
It's just another stock market.
30,000. That was a big deal.
It's just another stock, another way to store money. Energy.
And hit 40,000, 50,000 in mid-October, 60,000, and then 70,000.
See, we just increase it whenever we just increase it.
Bitcoin today. So we've been really happy. Of course, we shored up our engineering systems, our technical trading engine to handle all the traffic. So it's been great, and we're doing all this, still under some DDoS attacks as well.
Right.
Doxed.
Yeah. What's the appeal of Bitcoin to the Chinese? What's kind of the? I mean, obviously, there's like a lot of reasons probably why the Chinese are getting very interested in Bitcoin.
Yeah, this seems to be kind of helping China out, so that's kind of not a good thing, right?
So what I see is Chinese people. China is a country of savers. Compared to the U.S., the joke is, America.
The joke, yeah. The joke
in
is.
China, if you want to save money and if you want to invest it, you don't want to hold it in cash or in the bank. Sometimes you buy long-term scene for the first time, and people are getting awareness of it. It's like, oh my gosh, I could also invest in Bitcoins. And because Bitcoin, we know it's a digital asset, it's not a Ponzi scheme, it's not a multi-level marketing scheme, it's really open, decentralized, and for everyone. People in China think you can invest in it, and in some words, speculate.
Yeah.
Speculate that it will appreciate in price, many folds in the coming years and decades.
Yeah,
so that's
yada.
why I think Chinese people are interested.
Get
in
to the question about how the
primarily it's
faith.
been the buying of it, the hoarding, the savings of it, and not as much about the merchant payment aspect yet.
Yeah. So that's a great follow. So with the merchant payment aspect, do you think that eventually that the Chinese people will be interested in doing more like merchant transaction services?
Absolutely. I'll tell you my logic. One of the fallacies new people always ask me is, what can you buy with Bitcoin? And they assume that Bitcoin is only valuable based on what you can buy with it. And I actually ask them to turn that around. The reality is, what's most important is for people to understand why Bitcoin has value, in absence of what you can buy with it. Once Bitcoin has value, then other people will want it. And then there's a demand, there's a willingness to receive,
Right.
and then merchants receive it, and then the commerce transactions happen. So I'm not worried at all for the fact that China today is lagging in terms of merchant activity in Bitcoin payments. I'm not worried at all.
See, they've got to create a want. He explained it to you right there.
And I actually asked them to turn that around. The reality is,
this is the reality.
For people to understand why Bitcoin has value.
You have to give it value. You have to get people to believe in it. You have to have some kind of value in it. And value, believe, you have to have faith in it. You have to make it.
Once Bitcoin has value, then other people will want it. And then there's a demand,
Right.
there's a willingness to receive, and then merchants receive it, and then the commerce transactions happen. So I'm not worried at all for the fact that China today is lagging in terms of merchant activity in Bitcoin payments. I'm not worried at all. I think what's happening now is Chinese people realizing Bitcoin is valuable. They'll run up in price and all that. So as long as Bitcoin prices stay relatively stable, either at a flat price or upward.
That's what Adam was just talking about, it being stable. You can't have a currency without it being stable. So, I mean, just if it's treated as a stock or another storehouse of energy, gold or whatever valuable, land, it's the same. And we need a centralized bank where the people control it and gain from it. Not some private entity, somebody filling their pockets full of cash and having boards decide what's best for the company and not what's best for the consumer. You'll see something gonna go on with this, and people are gonna lose big time. I'm telling you, man, whoever's got started early, man, get rid of that shit, because I don't know, it won't take long. I'm gonna wrap this shit up. That's about it, I guess. I'm over here at Bitcoin, and then I guess they got their own little thing here. It's their governance structure and all this is just like a regular corporation, man. I think they got a ticker and everything. Who knows? I mean, something's going on. Gawk's got a ticker, I guess. Anyway, that's my 2 cents, man.
Brought to you by Bongits Production.